Sup gamers, welcome back to another free-to-play Ultimate Iron Man progress video. Couple GZs to give out before we get started. First of all, GZ Teason War 99 Strength, Beast Gamer. Second, GZ to T-Basher, 200 mil crafting, nice. Next, Big GZ to Pause on 200 mil ranged. And finally, a huge GZ to Helpless Bob on 200 mil attack and the 10th free-to-play Iron Man to achieve a 200 mil. Congrats, dude. So last video, I was still at Hill Giants, slowly working on finishing up 99 defense, doing the normal 3-bone method and trying to get as much prey XP as I could get. But before I finished up melees, I wanted to do a bit more testing of some other monsters in game just to make sure that somebody had rates available. So here I am testing out giant frogs. So essentially giant frogs are the fastest prey XP that you can get outside of Boneyard. The idea here is that they have a little bit less XP and they still give big bones. So you can get slightly faster rates even without getting the small bone drops that you would normally get at the hill giant spot. Giant frogs aren't actually worth it because you don't get any runes or GP or other useful stealing supplies here. So it's sort of a meme method if you ever want to go for just good prayer XP. But I figured I wanted to give this a try because there's a chance in the future that if I were ever to go for some sort of day record for prayer, this is the method that I would do. Just because it's the fastest prayer XP you can get when you are waiting for hops to regenerate from Boneyard. So generally, yeah, the idea here is that there's 4 of these giant frogs in the center area, and then I'm still trying to figure out how much it's worth it to go for the 5th frog that's sort of to the northwest. It's a bit out of the way, and trying to path it back to the main area is sort of tough, but I think it's generally worth it. There's also the concept of killing the smaller frogs and the giant rats in the area, which they only drop small bones, but sometimes you can find yourself with like a second or two of downtime, and during that downtime I think it's worth it to try to kill something like really quickly to get a small bone drop. I don't know. I didn't do a ton of testing here, but even the little bit of testing I did, I was still able to get like 6.4k an hour. I think honestly, with doing something like range, you could probably even get higher, like 6.7k. But yeah, so kind of just considering like a perfect day record, you would essentially do like a pre-6 hour here at the frogs. Then you would do, you switch between boneyard and frogs. It's essentially, the math works out to like 5 boneyard hop limits and then 4 hour sessions at the giant frogs to regenerate hops. So yeah, theoretical best is like 250k. I don't think that's like really realistic though. I think any day record over 200 or yeah, just over 200k in general would be pretty cool. I currently hold the UIM day record for prayer at just a bit over 100k, so it definitely would be a really big increase to that. But yeah, something to kind of just check out for the future. And so before I get back into the UIM progress, I want to talk a bit more about one of the alt accounts that I play, that being my Alkrid locked free-to-play Iron Man named Alcoholic. So a couple weeks ago, I got invited to a clan called Phoenix. It's like a new free-to-play Iron Man clan that sort of came out of the old free-to-play IM clan. The cool thing about this clan, though, is that they have a unique ranking system, especially for free-to-play Snowflake accounts. So I thought it'd be fun to join on my Outward account and hang out with some other free-to-play Iron Men that I don't generally get to see because they're outside of the World 385 clan. But yeah, so I know a couple of y'all have been asking about progress on this account, so I figured I'd share it here. Essentially, I hadn't really touched this account in a long time. Not really doing anything since earlier last year on it. But when I joined the Phoenix clan, I learned that they did a skill of the week competition, and the week that I had joined, there was a competition for prayer for that week. So since I had been at Hill Giants for so long, I figured it would be fun to um, do some Hill Giants on the Outward account and see if I was kind of interested in doing a competition, which I hadn't competed in one for a long time, so I didn't know if I was really up for the task. But just about a day or two in, I realized that one of the high level people in Phoenix Clan, a guy named Tease, was also sending like a pretty big week. Not like a ginormous week, but definitely was getting some like really big prey gains. And because this account is Alcarid limited, I only have access to some mithril supplies like the mithril scimitar, because that's the the best one I can make at the moment. So I figured if I wanted to win this comp, I would actually have to game a bit harder than I normally do. So that's what I ended up doing. Ended up doing a 80-hour week, which unfortunately only converts to 50 up on Temple, just because Temple rates assume the best in slot like the Rune Scimitar and all that. So yeah, ended up playing a decent amount of this account, racked up a decent amounts of prey XP and attack XP, but also gained a lots of runes. So kind of just like talking about this account and what is the larger goal for the like future. Essentially, I've always been slowly working towards unlocking the best in slot items that you can get in the desert. So, like for example, the first big grind I ever did on the account was 70 crafting to get the power amulet. And if you're wondering how I can do that, you can actually get balls of wool from imps, and that's what you can use to make your own amulets. So that was like my first big grind, but the second big grind I wanted to go for was 75 smithing for the Addy Scimitar. Since you can't get any of the rune attack items in the desert, the Addy Scimitar is like your best in slot. So smithing unfortunately is really slow. Um, there's no good way to get nature runes outside of just killing hill giants, and those don't give you nearly enough that you need. So you end up having to do a lot of just either crafting silver or just running back and forth between the iron spot on the giant plateau and the furnace, and then running all the way back to the anvil, which is pretty slow, but it's kind of the similar rates that like the old free-to-play Iron Men used to get back before telegrabbing was like meta. Sort of just doing like non-ring of forging, like for out southwest iron mining and Fowler teleport for the furnace. So essentially, because I'm doing some more AFK grinds, or rather some more less intensive grinds on the UIM, I figured it'd be fun to slowly start working towards this 75 smithing grind and maybe see if I can get it before the end of the year. It's been a pretty cool thing to do. It's especially nice because, as I'll get into in a minute, I'm crafting right now on the UIM, which, because it's a kind of world hop intensive method, there's a lot of the clan chat that won't register because I'm not able to see it while I'm in the hopping process. So it's kind of a cool way to still be involved in all the clan chats and everything without missing out on anything. So yeah, in terms of like the future of this account, I don't really see myself playing it a whole lot more than maybe just like a couple of couple weeks a year where I play it more than usual, and then probably some longer breaks at a time. I eventually do want to get like a 99 on this account. Something like 99 strength or whatever would be a pretty cool achievement to get. There's not a lot of other free-to-play area locked accounts that are active. There are a couple free-to-play desert accounts that some people will make and then they'll burn out on. But yeah, I at least want to make sure that I'm the ranked one free-to-play desert locked. There's another account called Sandy Sue, who is played by another free-to-play Ironman, and they sort of like the reason why I wanted to play this account more is because I noticed that they were making some decent gains on it, like 70 crafting and such, and I saw that they're getting some smithing levels as well. So if I can be the first desert lot with the Addy Scimitar, I think that'd be pretty cool. And anyway, here's me on stream a couple days ago getting 99 defense, and with that 99 melees. I sort of just consider melees to be one skill because it's essentially the same action for all three of them. So I wasn't really psyched about 99 strength and 99 attack, but this one was kind of cool. This one really means that I am done with melees for a very long time. So back to the UIM progress. So if you'll remember from my last video, I had talked about how because I was just going to be doing the Ring of Forging method for smithing, I was going to need to do a lot of combat magic to balance my magic XP out to make sure that the law runes from just the teleports would get me 99 magic. So after the elemental weakness update that came out a couple weeks ago, I wanted to at least test rates at the ice giants just to see how much magic XP you could really get. So this is kind of a neat method just because ice giants were never really part of the meta, and I guess they still aren't, but with their 100% fire weakness, it's kind of a cool thing to try out to see just how high the XP can get. And so here I was getting just around 70,000 magic XP per hour and like 20k HP, which is honestly really cool to see. Free-to-play Iron Man doesn't really get a lot of these like really high, like almost 20k or sorry, almost 100k an hour XP methods. So yeah, I was really just testing this with some of the death runes that I'd gotten from Matt's melees. I figured it'd be sort of fun to try, and maybe in the future there's a record that could be done here. The HP 6-hour record is kind of a strange method to do, but I think this is the fastest HP XP you can get in free to play. Maybe something like ranging Moss Giants might be a little faster. Um, but honestly, I think this is a pretty fast method to get HP. I don't think I'm gonna ever send the 6-hour though. It costs a lot of money, or it just costs a lot of time to get all the death runes you need. Plus, in this method, I was sort of trolling with seeing just how much of the like magic boost I could get. So Wizard Mind Bombs give a +3 or +4 magic buff. I don't know if that actually improves your DPS when you're combat maging, but I figured I didn't need like any other food or inventory items for this, and so I thought it'd just be kind of sort of fun to test out. But yeah. So after a brief stint at the Ice Giants, I did end up coming back to the Moss Giants, which are going to be the probably best way for free-to-play Iron Men to train combat maging. It's just sort of the combination of the elemental weakness that Moss Giants have, that being 50%, plus the added benefit of you're getting a bit more prey XP per hour than Ice Giants, and you're also getting better supply drops. Both because Moss Giants have better rune drops, and you're getting the Bryophyte keys, so you're getting some good supplies from bossing there. It's also just nice in general to climb a bossing high score. Even if it's not really efficient to kill Bryo, it's still kind of neat to slowly down that high score and try for the Bryophyte staff. I didn't end up getting the Bryo staff because I only got enough keys from this magic grind to get up to about 110 KC, and unfortunately the drop rate for the Bryo staff is like 118, I think, or something like that. So I didn't even hit drop rate. It's sort of funny too because I've kind of noticed with killing Moss Giants and such and Bryophyta that you either get super spooned or you go very dry. Like, for example, you can check the World 385 Reddit, and I swear somebody, like, once a week will post that they got their, uh, it's like finally got their Bryophyta staff, and you'll see the kill count, it's like under 20. Or it's somebody who's gone, like, multiple hundreds of kills dry. And I think this account in general is a pretty dry account. I didn't get the first Hill Giant Club until, like, almost 300 KC at Obor. So maybe I'll get the Bryo staff in the future, but it's definitely not something I'm going to prioritize, at least for a long time. But yeah, so this was a pretty fun method to do, and I did end up needing to buy a decent amount of Chaos Runes to get all the magic XP I needed, and it's sort of a interesting way to try to do all the math. So instead of trying to explain it, I'll just show y'all the spreadsheet. So when I say that I was going to purchase the Chaos Runes to finish up Magic, what does that mean exactly? So I know a couple of you were asking about how the math works when it comes to estimating how many items you need to buy to get to a goal XP to finish up a grind. So I figured I would go through this spreadsheet that I made and sort of explain how it works and how a lot of this math really isn't that complicated to put together for if you ever want to put together your own calculations and make sure that you're not overbuying or underbuying certain supplies. So I'll sort of talk you through this one I made for using fire bolts and moss giants. So essentially, the goal here is 99 magic, and I want to get 99 magic through the runes I'll be getting for smithing and crafting and rune crafting on top of the actual combat maging I need to do. So around the time I made this calculation or made this spreadsheet, I was at about I think it was at 9 million magic XP. And so the goal of this is I wanted to input how many law runes I had, how many nature runes I had, and how many chaos runes I would need to buy in order to get this total banked XP to the goal XP that I was looking for, which this is just the difference between 99 and whatever my current magic XP was. So the idea here is I would input everything that would either give direct magic XP or indirect magic XP. So that being the runes used for stealing, law runes and nature runes, as well as any chaos runes and death runes I might have, and mossy keys as well. So right now, this is current inventory, and then I have current banked XP. This is just with the things I already have, what that XP is looking like, and this sort of adds up into a total banked XP value, just being these numbers added up. So I could have made this spreadsheet a bit more in depth, and I could have actually added a current crafting and smithing XP and goal amounts, but I just kind of assumed an assumed value here just to kind of make this spreadsheet a little cleaner, a little easier to use for myself. This isn't something I would share with everybody else because then they would have to use these numbers a bit differently depending on what their own crafting smithing is. The general idea, though, of this section here is that I was going to be having to split up my law rune stack between two different types of teleports, that being Fowler teleports and Varrock teleports. So I took my current crafting XP and smithing XP, and I figured out, okay, I have 3.1 million craft XP to do. I'm going to be doing all of that, doing Fowler teleports, and then that 3.1 is going to get me about 800,000 smithing XP. So, from the 2.5 smithing XP I still need to do, subtract 800,000 from that, and then divide that value by doing the Ring of Forging method, how much smithing XP I'm getting per law rune there. So essentially with those numbers added up, I needed about 5,400 law runes that I needed to do with Fowler teleports, that being 48 XP each. And then in my final value of calculating the banked total XP, or the total teleport XP I'd be getting from law runes, essentially I just took that 5,400 value, multiplied it by 48, and then the remaining value of law runes I had, just subtracted that 5,400, multiplied that by 35 for the Varrock teleport. I'll be using those for a bit of extra rune crafting since I'll have more law runes than I need. And so this gives me kind of a total teleport XP. And so on top of this, I needed to purchase enough chaos runes to finish up the rest. And so that kind of takes me into the second part of this spreadsheet, which is calculating how much magic XP a chaos rune would give you at Moss Giants if you're fire bolting or fire blasting, since I'm going to be getting some death runes as well. So what this calculation looks like is that, so I took kind of a test sample of doing an hour of fire bolting and fire blasting. I got a damage per hour out of the just general XP per hour that I was getting, divided that down to actual casting, tasks per hour, and then, from each of those, I realized that, okay, I can get about 65k magic XP an hour if I'm blasting, about 4600 if I'm bolting, and then I can just kind of divide that value into how much XP I'm getting from that, plus how much XP I'll get from banked drops. So, every time I kill a Moss Giant, I have a chance at getting more Law runes and more Nature runes, as well as more Chaos runes and more Death runes. And on top of that, I'm also killing Bryophyta as well, so I have to include, the Moss Giant drops and the Bryophyta drops. And so, kind of combining all this together gives me a general value for how much XP I'm getting per Chaos rune. It's about 38.8. And so, when I come up here to do this, Firebolt XP calculation, I'm taking the 38.8 and I'm also adding all the banked XP that I'm getting from the different runes that I get of Law runes and Nature runes and such. So generally the idea with the spreadsheet was that I just wanted to be able to input how many Chaos runes I was going to need to get this banked XP value to match up with the goal amount. And so, say I have 9 mil magic XP, as I kind of just input it here for random. These Law Nature runes worth the amount that I had at 9 mil XP, but just for the sake of kind of showing off how this works. So let's say I was to buy, 50,000 Chaos runes. I would input that here. That's not enough, so I would still need to buy enough to purchase 1.4 mil XP. So I really just sort of trial and errored it here. This was after I finished up all my death runes, so I had a sort of a clean inventory, no mossy keys either. So let's say 100,000 chaos runes. That's too much. This value goes into the negative, so I have to scale it back. Let's try 60,000. Need more. 70,000. I need more. 80,000. A little bit less. 90,000. Okay, so 90,000 gets me over. So I'll just trial and error again. 85,000, 86,000, 87,000, too much. 86,500, 86,500 is too much, so 86,400. Okay, and that's like pretty much right there. So what I would end up doing is I would do a calculation like this, and I would just say, okay, like I want to just make sure that in case I go dry on like Law runes, Nature runes, whatever, just because this kind of just assumes an average drop of what I would be getting, but maybe I go dry and maybe I get 20 back-to-back-to-back Cosmic Rune drops from Bryophyta or whatever. So I would just buy a bit more extra to be safe, and so this is kind of how I would do the math. And so this would give me kind of a nice clean 86,400 Chaos Runes. It's how much I would need to buy from Aubrey, and this is how I was able to finish combat maging. So now getting into the current day, currently working on finishing up crafting on the UIM. So essentially, if you remember my last two videos talking about the Run Energy update, there's still no word on when that's coming out. They ran a second beta test just a few weeks ago, but we're still waiting to see what comes out of that, if anything. Looking at it, it seems like, yeah, it is going to be a pretty decent buff to smithing, prayer, and rune crafting. I thought that crafting on its own used a lot of run energy, but through actual testing, you only really need to minigame teleport and run restore like once every hour and a half, which really isn't that much. And it's even less if, every hour you need to, take a piss or take some sort of break, then you can just leave yourself logged in and you'll get a decent amount of run energy back, which is pretty nice. So yeah, this is what I'm going to be doing. This is really the last method before I'm forced to do some really run dependent skills. So I guess we'll see when the run energy update comes out or not. I have a feeling that it's not going to come out in time, and if that's the case, I'll just have to do some smithing with pre-run update rates, but that's just whatever. So getting into the actual crafting method, I figured it was about time to actually learn the manual double hop method. So all the double hopping that I've done in the past has been a method known as continuous hopping. It's essentially, when you world hop, the world hop process takes about 5 seconds. So if you can do everything you need to do in the game world within that 5 second time, you can just continuously hit the world hopper on each of the clients, and you'll never have to actually like manually log in. You'll just be in that like continuous hopping process, hence the name. Unfortunately, though, if you want to mine all three rocks at the Virat Southwest spot, it takes longer than 5 seconds, so you need to do this method called manual double hopping. That is manually logging out and then manually logging back in. So this is kind of a weird situation for me because I don't know how manual double hopping works on the Jagex client. Every time I'll try to do it on the Jagex client, it will just like it'll work for a second and then it'll just auto fail every hop attempt. So that's why I'm doing this on the Legacy RuneLite client. Now, I don't know why it doesn't work for me because it works for other people. Like for example, I've watched Suck on This 4 do the manual hop boneyard method, and he seems to have it be working fine for him. But every time I try it, it just like auto fails for some reason. So not sure why that's happening. I'll figure that out in the future. But besides the manual double hop here, method is pretty much the same. I'm not using leather just because the way I did my math for how many law runes I need for this method, I don't want to lose 3 extra inventory spaces for the leather to the leather action. Plus, at 90 magic, especially at 99, not magic, sorry, at 99 mining, I'm mining the rots pretty fast normally. So, because of that, I don't feel the need that I have to do the leather. Leather is definitely worth it to do this method at lower mining levels, especially when you're going for that like initial 70 crafting grind. But at 99 mining, I really don't think it's that worth it. Though I guess it's sort of personal preference for if people want to do it or not. It's technically a little bit faster, I think, but I'm already getting pretty good rates. This is footage is coming from the hour record I did where I got 19.2k, and the EP rate is 19.5k. It's only like a touch below. The EP rate in general for crafting, I think, is sort of scuffed because EP rate sort of assumes that you're always going to be getting like not perfect essentially, but you're going to be getting really good RNG when it comes to crashers ever out Southwest. And so, like for example, when I was going for hour record attempts doing this method, I essentially only was able to do it on a certain set of worlds on weekday evenings. If I tried doing this earlier in the day, or if I tried using the American worlds, or if I even attempted at all to do it over the weekend, I'd be getting crashed much more. So, in terms of what the EP rate should be for crafting, thankfully it used to be 20k and was brought down to 19k, or 19.5k rather. I still think that number is a little too high. I think that 19k is probably what the EP rate should be, just because you're never going to be getting, not crashed when you're doing this method, no matter what time of year, no matter, how many other Ironmen are active. And I say that too because at some point in the last year or two, bot accounts seem to have started mining silver. I'm not sure why, because by the time you can mine silver, you can already mine iron, and iron is way more GP per ore than silver is. Plus, you mine it faster. But I've seen a lot of bots. There's also just been a lot of noobs in general that play, and they'll camp like a single world. So you always have to make sure to like hop over a certain world so you don't do it. So you don't run into them and run into a world that all the ores are depleted. So personally, I think the EP rate should be 19k. I understand that, yeah, in the ideal situation, you're not going to be getting crashed, so you should be able to get like 20k with silver and with leather. But in terms of like realistic long-term EP, I don't know. I don't make the EP, so it's not really my call to make. But just as somebody who's actually actively doing this method right now, when no one else really is, just sort of something that I've had on my mind recently. But yeah, this is sort of my plan for the next month or so until I get 99. I've been playing a lot recently. Just sort of a factor of work's been pretty light, and I haven't really been doing too much else, like too much other video gaming besides like playing some other games. So I'm having a lot of time during the workday that I can just sit at home and do crafting. So hoping to get this done. If I can get this done before Thanksgiving, that'd be really cool because I'll be traveling back home to visit family for a couple weeks and won't have much time to game outside of just being on mobile. But yeah, so after I finish this, it's really just going to be jumping into smithing. I have a decent couple hundred hours of smithing to do, mostly because I'm going to be doing the arena forging method, which is only like 12k an hour. It's not fast at all. But in my mind, I'm still happy with the fact that I'm not gonna have to do like any telegrabbing, not gonna have to touch the wilderness at all, which is gonna be really nice. Um, if you're asking about whether or not, how much double hopping I'm doing, kind of just from what I mentioned earlier, because during the like middle of the day, it's like impossible to get good rates. I usually just single hop while I play the Algorithm account, and I only ever really double hop either when I'm streaming or when I get that like sweet spot in the evening when some of the worlds I use are open. But yeah, so if you're curious about the math, it's about with this Lauren stack of like 8,500 I have left, about 5,000 of those still to be used for crafting and smithing, and then the last 3K are gonna have to be used doing rune crafting. And so in terms of just what the future of this account looks like after crafting smithing. I'll do a little bit of minotaurs just so I can get the teleports that I need to use up these 3,000 law runes. And then after that, I'm going to have an empty inventory. So I think that's going to be when I send the final 99 prayer grind. I'm not sure how I'm going to split it up exactly. I don't think I'm going to do 99 prayer outright and then 99 rune crafting outright. I think that's a bit too ambitious because that's like 2,000 hours on its own. I think what I'll more likely do is I'll get a couple prayer levels, then a couple rune crafting levels, and kind of just alternate between the two. But yeah, that's sort of topic for the future. Anyway, though, getting into some more recent, or rather more closely up and coming things, there's potentially going to be a free to play week long competition coming up in the next couple weeks after this video is released. So if you're ever looking for an excuse to get some like bigger gains than normal, I definitely recommend signing up and checking it out. Even if you're not going to be like a huge you know 80 plus hours that week, even if you're just going to be sort of chilling, comps are like a good way to kind of engage with the like higher level members in the community, and gives you an excuse to play a bit more than you normally would. So I recommend checking it out. I would like to go hard in that week comp if it's during a time that I'm not traveling. My last week comp that I did for free to play, I only got a 97 week or 95 week, and I want to actually try to push for a 100 plus week now. So I think I'm gonna go hard if there's a comp that's coming up. But yeah, that's all I have in terms of progress. So this was, I think originally the idea was that this was just kind of a troll question that someone was asking in one of the free to play discords, just kind of saying, like you put all this time into RuneScape and like what for. So I figured I would at least talk about my thoughts on like what it means to play a game like RuneScape and click some virtual rocks for a couple thousand hours. Um, you know, do I think this is rewarding? Do I feel a sense of accomplishment? And to be honest, I think I do. I think I do really view my RuneScape account as something that like I am proud of, like putting all this time into, and not something I just feel shitty about. So I think there's a few reasons for that. I think the first kind of argument with a lot of these things are, you know, like, oh, if you weren't putting all this time into RuneScape, you could be, curing cancer or saving the world or like some bullshit like that. So I just kind of like a few arguments from there. Is like first, if I wasn't playing RuneScape, I'm still gonna be like sitting at my computer for a decent chunk of the day. Like I'm not somebody who like only plays RuneScape and then goes to bed. A lot of my RuneScape hours are while I'm working. I have a job that isn't fully work from home, but I get to work from home multiple days a week. And so that's time where like I still have to be sitting down in front of my work laptop and answering calls and just doing any kind of work that I have to do. So while I'm here, like I may as well be clicking RuneScape. I think the sort of second thing on top of that as well is, even if I wasn't playing RuneScape, I would still be probably playing either some other game or I would just be, watching some Netflix series or watching YouTube. It's not like there isn't really much time during the day where if I wasn't playing RuneScape, I would be doing something more productive. Like I still get my exercise in throughout the week. I still go out on weekend evenings to, bars and clubs and such. I still hang out with friends. I still do plenty of travel. Um, I don't really feel like there's in any way that RuneScape is like taking away from like the things I would potentially be doing in real life. And sort of into the flip side is like when it comes to like the deep sense of accomplishment or whatever, like or like the sense of reward. I do think those are like net positives. I think the first one is just the general like content creation of it. Um, before my RuneScape account, like I never engaged with making things on YouTube. I never engaged with the idea of doing anything on Twitch. But since I started playing this account and since I started engaging in those platforms, like I do get a sense of accomplishment when people watch my videos and I'll run in like I'll be at the Faldo Furnace sometimes when I'm crafting, and I'll like see a random free to play UIM and I'll be like, oh hey, like nice account, and then they'll like go into a speech about how like my videos were like really helpful for them making an account, or like it gave them more motivation to like try out tick manipulation or whatever. And I think that's like it's kind of just like a crazy thing when like you can impact someone's life in a way like that. Because I remember like when I was the noob and I would like see Automelogy in game or something, and I'd be like, hey, like your free to play UIMs are beast, like your videos like help me out or whatever. And now like I kind of get like that on the flip side of that, like what it feels to be on the receiving end. And like when it comes to Twitch in general, like streaming on Twitch is fun. Like I get to engage with a bunch of y'all that I wouldn't like normally be able to see otherwise. Um, just being involved in the streaming community, it's gotten me involved with some other like RuneScape streamers, both free to play and non free to play. And because of that, like I'm in a bunch of Discords I wouldn't have been in before. Like I'll get into voice chat with some people sometimes, and I'll make friends. I'll have a good laugh. We'll discuss whatever. I'll learn some things. I'll be involved in things that I wouldn't have been involved in otherwise. So I think like on that side of things, it's pretty cool. And then there's just like even if the accomplishment of getting a lot of ep on a RuneScape account, like even if that doesn't really mean much to other people, it does mean something to me. Like when I think about like the biggest accomplishments I've done in my life, like yeah, okay, graduating college was pretty big, and landing a dream job was pretty big, but I don't know, like there's not a lot of things that like especially like in this day and age where like you can just say you put a lot of hours into one thing and like you have something to really show for it. Like I have this really cool account now that I can show to people and say like, hey, like I did this. Like even if it's not like cool to you, like I feel the sense of accomplishment that I put in like a lot of time and a lot of passion into this project, and like I got something that like not many people are going to get out of this. Like assuming in the next 2 years or so I do match this account, I'm going to be potentially the third, fourth person to ever do this on an account. Which, I mean, three people on the whole planet that were like willing to put in the time and not burn out and not do whatever. Like, I think that's pretty cool. So I don't know. Just like kind of just to answer this question, like I know it was sort of a troll, but and I know like some other people were even like saying that like they also feel like a sense of accomplishment. But yeah, like I think this is a pretty cool thing that I've done. I think that like if I had not been into RuneScape and had just stuck to some other games like I don't know, like Battlefield or the Finals or PUBG or whatever, like I don't think I would have been as accomplished. Like I wouldn't have felt like a sense of fulfillment that comes from building this like cool thing, this cool accounts, working long term and all that. So I don't know. Kind of like a positive note to end the video with is, I don't just play this game because it's like something to do, or like I don't feel bad about like getting big gains, and I don't feel bad if I spend a few hours every day just clicking on this like medieval children's game. I think it's cool. I think it's fun, and so I'm gonna keep doing so. And I think having a mindset like that is important when you're going for like really long-term things. Like you gotta have some pride in your work, and that is what I have. But I think the flip side of that is that as you put more hours into something, you definitely do. Like I remember when I was a noob and I just wanted more updates to come out because I wanted rates to be faster. But now I definitely understand the side of things of, like I put in thousands of hours doing this method really slowly. It would sort of suck if things got increased. Like with the run updates, for example. I did 1,000 hours of rune crafting already, and so it's sort of gonna suck to see a lot of that time kind of get thrown to the wayside because rune crafting gets sped up. But it's whatever. I can still say that I did a couple thousand hours, like even if it doesn't really mean much anymore. Like I can still say that was like a pretty cool thing I did. But anyway, I think that's really all I got for today. So thanks y'all for watching. I will probably put out another video after the new year. I don't think anything's gonna happen before then and now. The one thing that could come out is so last year when Leads came out, I played like a free-to-play only Leads account, just sort of as a little side project. So depending on how I'm feeling when that comes out this year, I might make another Leads account to do that on, and I might record a little mini series, but it sort of just depends on how I'm feeling and how much I'm willing to play. But yeah, anyway, thanks all for watching. See you later.